Hello, everybody. Mr. Manti is here back to you with part 6. We are now going to do some explosions into our Unity. I just need to double check a few things. We're good to go. All right. Bring back Unity up. Some of these things can be created in Unity. Uh, this will require code after we create the explosion. But Unity has a lot of good stuff in it that we can use. One of them is called a particle effect. So you guys got to go to effects. You can right click, or you can go to this drop down plus sign and look for effects. And you want to look for the particle system. Okay, particle system is right there as it is shown. We're gonna go ahead and zoom in a little bit. We're going to go ahead and rename it. Let's go ahead and rename the particle system as an explosion. So go ahead and call it explosion, please, on your project. Just like that. Now, a few things we're going to work on. As you can see in the inspector, we have the particle system. The duration is 5 seconds. It is currently looping. We're going to leave it alone for right now in the loop pattern. We'll go over all these things here in a little bit. Let me see what else we got here. Oh, the emission and the shape we're going to be messing with here in a little bit. First thing I want you to do is, of course, I want you to flip this, because right now this particle system is going straight up, which we don't really need. We want it to come towards the camera. So I got to flip it back 90 degrees. So what I'm going to do is just hit 0. And now the explosion is coming towards the camera. All right. All right. Let's go over the stuff over here on the right real quick. Duration. So each little particle is going to last about 5 seconds. So we can go ahead and change that to 2 seconds for right now. As you can see, the particles start here and they will last about 2 seconds each. Okay. Looping is exactly what it's doing right now. It's constantly going over and over and recycling itself. Pre-warm. Pre-warm means nothing more than do you want it going on right now? Like if you were to create fire and you start the game, the fire would be right there already started for you. Okay. Start delay and start lifetime. We'll go over these here in a second, but first we're going to go ahead and go down here and utilize our drop down menus for emissions and shape. Okay, go ahead and do that. All right, so right now we are going to go over to emissions. The rate over time is 10 particles per second. We do not need that. What we need is a burst time. So we're going to go ahead and make that 0 rate over time. And we're going to add a burst by coming here to the plus sign. Hit that. Right now our count is 0, 30 bursts per second, and we're going to go ahead and lower those down here in just a second. I'm just looking at seeing how pretty it looks. All right, so we're going to set the cycle here in a minute, but we're going to go down to shape. The cone shape is it's a preferred shape for an explosion. As you can tell, that's the shape right there that it's coming out at. But like I said, we're going to go with 0. That way it's coming right at the camera. The radius is right here. And I believe let me see if I can move it with my... Okay. So what it did was it tightened it up. As you can tell, my cone is now tighter in the middle. Let me see what I can do with my radius thickness. All right, as you can see, I can spread out my burst, or I can bring it in nice and tight. So I'm going to leave it at 1. That's a good size for an explosion. Kind of trying to match it up to this bad boy right there. Okay, so we're going to kind of go with that. That's a good size right there. All right. It is emitting from the base. We're going to leave that alone. And what else are we going to change? Let me see. Where is the angle? Angle's good at 25. We're going to leave it at 25. But again, you can play with that number also. $25 is a good number. We'll leave it alone there. Let me see. Did I miss anything? Checking my notes. Nope, it looks good. Everything else, again, you can play with this. Just remember, we're going with a radius of a very tight radius. You know what? I'm going to change that to 0.01 for right now. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Let me see what else. All right, so shape should be 25, radius should be 0.01. My rate over time under emission should be 0. My rate over time and distance should be 0. These are default bursts, so we're going to go ahead and leave those alone. Let's go ahead and collapse them back up. And let's come up here to our start delay, start light time, and start speed. Okay. So these particles, as you can see, are lasting a little bit long, 5 seconds. So we're going to go over here to the start live time. This is what controls that. All right, duration is the burst time. I stand corrected. I looked at my notes. This is actually in between each burst. We're going to change that later on. And also we're going to change the looping. But start delay, we want it to happen instantly as soon as my object explodes. So we don't want no delay there. Our lifetime, how long are they going to last? So we can all make them last 5 seconds each, or we can add a little bit of a constant, 2 constants. So we're going to go right here and we're going to check between 2 constants, okay? So I'm going to do that. So now some of them are going to end at 0.5, and these are seconds. And then some of them are going to end at 1.5. Okay, so there's your explosion now. As you can see, it's getting a little tighter, a little bit more realistic, right? So the next thing we want to play with is the speed. The speed is how fast these suckers are going right here, okay? So we can also alternate that speed between 2 constants. So the computer chooses those 2 constants. Let's go ahead and play with that right now. Random between 2 constants. So we can change our speeds. We can say, again, 0.5. All right. And I can say, instead of 5, I can say maybe 2. All right. Kind of looks a little bit more like an explosion. All right. So if this was to explode, right? Boom, boom. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. Maybe let me increase my lifetime a little bit to 2. Let's see what that looks like. All right, looks a little bit better. Looks more realistic of an explosion, right? We're getting there. All right, so what we got next? Let me double check. All right. I think I kind of like this, but I think explosions are a little bit faster. So I'm going to go with a 1 and a 2, okay? Or maybe a 3. Let me see what a 3 looks like. No, too far. Let's go with a 2. Oh, too fast. 2. All right, so 1 and a 2. Now, another thing we can do is also change the size, okay? Change the size. Again, you can keep it at a 1, or you can choose between 2 constants, which is what I like to do, because when something explodes, physics, not everything is going to be the same size. Not everything is going to get destroyed the same size. So we can play with this number also again, 0.5, and all the way to 1.5 maybe, all right? And you can play with this number, all right, again. Some of these particles are larger than the others, which is what happens when you have something explode. And again, for size comparison, right? All right, looks good. It's looking good so far, okay? So far we have taken care of our duration. Right now our duration is because we're using that to gauge it, looping because we need to be able to see it. Start delay, again, starts instantly, doesn't have to wait when it's going to make contact with the bullet. Start speed, we added variations to this, constants, and also start size. All right, so right now you're like thinking, well, this doesn't look like an explosion to me. Of course it don't. It's white right now. So guess what we're going to do next? We're going to change our color. Um, so we can pick one color, right? Oh, that looks cool. Yay. Or you can say, hey, I'm going to do two colors. Okay. So we can do between two colors or two gradients. You can play with these. All right. But I'm going to go random between two colors. So where did my thing go? All right, here it is. I'm going to move this over here so we can get a good look. All right. So I got red and white going on right now. My second color, I think I want to pick, since this is green, right? Let's go with something green. Okay. Because, the red represents, of course, the fire, and the green represents probably to me the falling object, pieces of the falling object. Okay. That's me. You can also say, well, you know what? I like something in the fire department, right? So you can go with something like that. Again, like I said, you can play with these colors or, pick the ones I'm going to pick. So I'm going to go with green/orange. So let's go with a little bit of the orange side. All right, right there. Maybe a little bit lighter because it's getting burnt up. All right, so that to me looks good. All right, so I'm going to stick with that. Again, this is where you have some leeway, so you can play with whatever color you like. All right, so the next thing we need to do, since this is a very simple game, okay, very simple game, we can do all kinds of cool explosions and add some liners to it and add some texture to it, but I'm not going to do that. You can experiment. There's plenty of YouTube channels out there that go over this stuff. We're going to keep it simple, right? We don't want to lose anybody too bad. Uh, First things first, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the looping, all right? What that means is it's no longer going to loop, but if you want to see it, hit the play button and it'll play for you one time. Okay. You do want to play on awake. That means that when there's contact and you activate it or instantiate it, like we're going to do here in a minute, then it will play through its cycle just like this. And that'll be it. Okay. So, what we want to do next is, like I said, we want to instantiate it just like we did with the bullet, right? Just like we did a bullet. A bullet right now is a prefab. Okay, is a prefab. So we want to do the same thing with the explosion. We want to make it a prefab. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab it and I'm going to throw it inside my assets window. And there it is right there as a prefab. It is blue, letting me know that yes, it has been successfully made a prefab. Okay, so like I said before, we're going to instantiate it, which we're going to make it come from something, right? In this case, it's going to be what? Our falling object. So we need to go ahead and open that up. All right, so now I got my code up. So we know when we hit the trigger, okay, we are telling it to move up. We are also telling it anytime you hit something, you're gonna move to the top. Other being the player, but then we also made a compare tag right here, right? If I hit the compare tag bullet, I want you to get destroyed. So we're also gonna instantiate. All right. So sorry about that. Had a phone call. So like I said before, we're gonna go over here where it gets triggered. Right, our falling object gets triggered when it hits something, the player, and then it's gonna move back to the top. Or if it is hit by a bullet, then it's gonna get destroyed. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and add a little comment here, letting us know that explosion goes here. Okay, so we're going to add it there. Before we can instantiate, we need to go ahead and create a game object that is called explosion. So we're going to go back up here to the public class area. We're going to hit enter a few times, and we're going to go ahead and just make a public and game object. We'll go right there, and we're going to go ahead and name it explosion, right? All right, and we're going to close this out, and we're going to hit save. Anytime I like to save periodically. So we're going to add a comment here. I forgot to add a comment. This comment's going to say this will be the prefab. The prefab explosion entered in the inspector. So that's just to remind you that you're going to have to drag, just like we did the bullets, you're going to have to drag the explosion into the falling object in the inspector. Okay, so keep that in mind. Speed. Let's see. What do we not have a comment for speed? Oh, I went too many brackets, which causes it to go a little crazy on me. All right, so the comment is speed. Speed is the number of units we move. All right. All right, I think we got everything here like it should be. Line it up. I like to line stuff up. If you've noticed that about me, got a little OCD there. All right. Again, save. And let's see what else we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and instantiate down here. Give ourselves a little bit of room. Come back up. You know, before we start writing code, let's go ahead and do something. Let's knock this out of the way. This will benefit you because most of y'all skip these parts of the videos, and I've noticed because you guys run into these issues. So minimize that. Let's go ahead and get rid of the explosion here once the C# script updates. All right. Come on. Why is it taking so long? Oh my goodness. Got a school computer. So we're going to delete this one. We don't need this one. All right. We already have the prefab here. Okay. So we're going to go to the falling object. As you will notice, we now have an explosion, and I'm going to go ahead and grab my prefab explosion and put it right there. Okay. So that way we will not forget later on. All right, let's go back to our script. All right, so what we need to do here is instantiate the game object, just like we did before with the bullet. So we're going to go ahead and instantiate the bullet, right? I'm sorry, the explosion. And where are we going to put it? Or what are we doing? We're bringing in the explosion. Okay, and where are we doing it? We're doing it at the place of the object that is attached to. In this case, it's our falling object. So transform.position. So whatever position this object, the falling object is, that's where it's going to originate. And we're also going to cause it to have its origin from there. Rotation. Okay, so let me see. And we're going to finish it up with our semicolon. All right. So looking at the code and being a coder myself, we are going to run into a problem. we have moved to the top a little bit too fast or too early. So what's going to happen is it's going to hit the bullet, it's going to destroy itself, and then it's going to explode. So what's going to happen, again, it's going to move to the top and then explode. Let me just show you what it looks like. That way you guys can understand how the coding works. All right, so let's go ahead and do this. I want to bring this here so you guys can see where it's going to populate, right? And I think it's going to populate because it moves to the top. It's going to populate where it goes back to. All right, so let's play the game real quick so I can show you. All right, so you can see the explosions are popping up on top. And right now, that's not what we want. Okay, so let's go ahead and fix that. Easy fix. So let's go back to our move to top. We want it to happen after the explosion. So go ahead and do a Control X. Now pay attention to where I'm putting it. Right there. Okay, that's where it's going to go. So after it does all this, then I want it to move to the top. All right, check it. All right, so I think I know we're gonna run into another problem, but let me just check and see what happens right now. Oh, terrible shot. All right. All right. The one problem I see is that we are having clones. All right. So as you can see here, our clone is not going away. So we got to stop it. So what we're going to have to do is go back into our code. All right. And we're going to have to make this go away when it is complete. So we need to make this into some type of game object. Okay? So what happens is we can then be able to destroy it because I don't want to destroy the explosion. I want to destroy the actual game object. So let's go ahead and start off with that. Let's rename something here. Let's call it game objects. And that game object's name is going to be called explode, right? And where'd I go? Okay, let me cut this. I put it in the wrong spot. Should actually go right here in front of it. All right, so explode. Oh, my thing is not acting correctly. And we're going to make that equals, okay? All right, so game object. I created a new game object and I named it explode, and that explode equals this exploding. So now I can destroy it because you guys remember I can destroy with that word, destroy. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Destroy the explosion, right? So we're going to destroy explode. Okay. Now, another cool trick about destroying is we can set a time limit to that. All right, we don't have to destroy it right away because if we destroy it right away, it's not going to give it time to form. Let's go ahead and save it so I can show you what I'm talking about. And let's go back to Unity. So right now it's updating, and you're going to see that when it destroys, we're not going to have time for the explosion to play out because it is destroying instantly. Oh, forgot to do something over here. Yeah, my semicolon right there. All right, back to Unity. Okay, so once this compiles, we can hit play, and you're going to see that when I fire, I'm not going to be able to, yes, I know. I'm not going to be able to, see how it doesn't explode anymore because I'm telling it to be destroyed, and along with that, it's not giving it time to fully show the explosion fabrication that we created, right? So let's go ahead and add a time to that. So what I can do with this is comma, and I think my explosion lasted no longer than 2.5, so I'm going to make that a 3. Okay, and it has to be a float, so it'll be 3F. All right, so let's give that a shot and let's see what happens now. Now that I gave it time to explode, run its instantiation explosion, and then now my game object clone will go away. Okay, so pay attention to the explosion, and also I want you to pay attention to the hierarchy, as that clone will go away now. Okay, so let's check. All right, and let's hit play, and now I should be able to explode it. Oh no, there it is right there. My clone goes away after 3 seconds, and it doesn't buffer up the hierarchy. Okay. Explosion. 1, 2, 3, gone. 1, 2, 3, gone. Oh, I'm terrible at my own game. All right, so you guys get the idea. All right, so now we have an explosion. Instantiates from the falling object. Let me see what else we can do, and let me check my time on this. So let me pause it real quick. All right, so reiterate what we just did. We moved to the top. We brought it back down. We created a game object and gave it a name of explode. Then we created an instantiation, explosion, transform position, and we destroy that explosion after 3 seconds. Okay, so now we are good to go. So I think we are close to that 30-minute mark. I went over a few minutes, so we're going to go ahead and call it a day. This is your explosion segment, day 6. All right, don't forget to like and subscribe, and tomorrow you can start day 7, where we will be doing sound effects, music, and let me see what else we can do, because those things are very quick, and maybe I'll throw in scoring points also. Okay? All right, Mr. Mancia saying goodbye, and have a great day.